Good afternoon, everyone. Today, in recognition of Men's Health Month, we're discussing a subject that affects fathers, husbands, brothers, sons, friends, and colleagues in every community and every culture. And to guide us through that conversation, we are fortunate to have someone whose work sits at the intersection of movement, medicine, and public health. Dr. Hamail Arshad in Long Island obtained his Bachelor of Science in Exercise Science from the State University of New York, from the University at Buffalo. He then went on to complete his Master of Public Health from Hofstra University and a doctorate of physical therapy from Touro University of New York. He brings a perspective that goes beyond treating illness. He focuses on helping people understand how small, practical decisions made today can change the course of their health years from now. And today, he will be guiding a discussion dedicated to Men's Health Month. So without further ado, on behalf of the Azeemi Global Foundation, we welcome Dr. Hamail Arshad.
Thank you, Varda, for such a warm welcome. Just going to show the screen here for everyone to see over here. Good. Good. Can you all hear me? Just a thumbs up would do. Good. Thank you. Welcome, everybody, wherever in the world you're joining us from tonight or today, right? This session, it's about one thing. It's about helping you, the brothers, and the men you care about live longer, stronger, and healthier lives. Now, this isn't about scaring anyone. It's about knowledge, action, and taking responsibility. So everything I'm sharing today, it comes from real research and major health organizations. You'll see the sources listed on the slides if you want to look a deeper look yourself. But please keep one thing in mind. This is general education, not advice for your specific situation. Screening guidelines, they're different from country to country, so always check with your own doctor about what's right for you. So on that note, let's jump into our objectives here. So just a quick look here about what we're covering tonight. One honest note before we dive in, nothing here replaces an actual conversation with your own doctor. So think of today as arming yourself with the right questions to ask your doctor, right? So this month is dedicated to men's health. And why does men's health matter? Like, why does it matter? Here's the reality. No matter where you're watching from today, men die younger than women, basically everywhere on Earth. And depending on where you live, that gap can be huge. In some of the poorest parts of the world, men are living on average 20 years less than men in wealthier countries. 20 years less. Heart disease and stroke have been killing more people than anything else on the planet for over 30 years running. And in Europe, when they actually studied this properly, they found working age men are dying at more than double the rate of working age women. And you see that same pattern to different degrees in a lot of other places too. The thing is that most of this is preventable. And that's exactly what we're here for today. Here's a reality some of you might be familiar with. You might have noticed in your family or yourself that we do, as men, avoid the doctor. But why is that? Researchers have asked men this question all over the world. And the answers, they're almost always the same. Men, they treat themselves instead of going in. They're scared of what they actually might find out. And there's this quiet belief that needing help isn't manly. In South Africa, when they sat down and they asked men directly, those were the top 3 reasons. In Trinidad, almost 1 in 3 men only went to the doctor because their wife or their family basically pushed them. And when researchers pulled together and everything ever studied on this, so they did a meta-analysis on this, over 100 different studies from all over the world, it came down to the same 2 things every single time. fear, and not wanting to look weak. This isn't a your country problem or your culture problem. It's everywhere, and it's costing men their lives. The strongest thing a man can do is take care of himself, so he's actually around to take care of his family. So, like you see on the screen, true strength is taking responsibility for your health before the problems become emergencies. So, the two diseases that we talked about, heart disease and stroke. So, heart disease, it isn't some Western rich country problem. It's the number one killer of men on every single continent. Heart disease and stroke, they have been sitting at the top of that list worldwide for over 30 years. 3 decades, they've been the top killers of men. And the biggest driver behind all of it is high blood pressure. Almost half of all heart disease comes down to that one thing. Here's what makes it dangerous. High blood pressure has no symptoms. None. A man can feel completely fine, energetic, strong, no pain anywhere, while his blood pressure is quietly wrecking his heart, his brain, his kidneys. So it doesn't matter if you're in Karachi, Cairo, London, or New York, the advice is the same everywhere. Know your numbers, your blood pressure, your cholesterol, your blood sugar. These are 3 simple tests that can genuinely save your life. So moving on to protecting our heart. So here's the good thing about food specifically. So you don't have to throw out your culture to eat healthier. Every single food tradition in the world, it already has healthy options built into it. The goal, however, is just to make smarter choices within what you already have. So when researchers, they looked at diets worldwide, the biggest problems were the same everywhere. Not enough whole grains, not enough fruit, and too much salt. So if you grew up on South Asian food, for example, the simple swaps, they will go a long way, such as less ghee and more olive or vegetable oil, more lentils and vegetables, less fried foods. And if your background is of East or West Africa, your traditional diet, whole grains, beans, vegetables, is actually already healthy. The real danger is moving toward processed food and sugary drinks as things get more modern and city-based. And for Middle Eastern and North African families, it's mostly about portion sizes, a little less rice and sweets, and a little more on the vegetable side. So the point is that every culture can eat healthier without losing what makes it their culture. Let's segue into mental health for men. You know, depression in men might be one of the most missed conditions on earth. The reason is that when researchers they look at how men show their distress, anger, drinking, overworking, taking risks, instead of just the classic symptoms, the rates of depression in men and women, they came out almost identical. The tools that we normally use to diagnose depression, they were built around how women tend to describe it. In a lot of cultures, South Asian, African, Middle Eastern, Latin American, men don't say, I'm depressed. They say, I'm tired. I'm stressed. I'm fine. That's not weakness. That's just how it comes out. But here's the message that matters. No matter how it shows up for you, if you're struggling, whether that's anger, drinking, pulling away from people, exhaustion, unexplained pain, that's your body telling you to get help, not to push harder. So struggling silently is not strength. Getting support is strength. We're all familiar that mental health stigmas, they exist in every culture. But as well, so with that stigma also comes the capacity to overcome it as well. And that brings us to an unfortunate and the dark topic of suicide, which is a preventable global crisis. So I want to walk through this carefully because it matters. Suicide is a global crisis, and men carry most of the weight of it. Out of everyone who died by suicide worldwide in one recent year, about 7 out of every 10 were men. Globally, men die by suicide at more than double the rate of women. And in places like Europe and the Americas, it's 3 to 5 times higher. Most of these deaths, somewhere around 70 to 80%, happen in poorer countries where mental health support is hard to come by. And the method also, it tends to follow what's available where you live, which actually tells us something about making the most dangerous methods harder to access, that it will genuinely save life by doing so. So if you or someone you love is struggling, please reach out. It looks different depending on where you are. In the US, 988. 116123 is for the Samaritans in the UK, or the Umang helpline in Pakistan, or just your local emergency number almost anywhere else in the world. So know what the number is for where you live. That brings us to building emotional strength. Building real emotional strength looks different depending on your culture, but a few things hold true everywhere. Exercise. Yes, the physical one. Exercise is one of the most powerful tools. Moving your body is one of the most powerful tools we have. That's true across every population that's ever been studied. It's the most studied subject. So, as well as staying connected to people just matters just as much. Family dinners, community gatherings, going to the mosque or the church, or just sitting with friends. There's actually strong research showing that people who regularly show up for their spiritual or religious community live longer and deal with less depression. Meaningfully less, not just a little. So whether that's salah, meditation, church, or just quiet reflection on your own, these things, they genuinely protect you. The key is having these tools in place before you're in crisis, not scrambling for them in the middle of one. And if all of that still isn't enough, getting professional help isn't failure, that's wisdom. So as you see that box on the right side on the screen, this was a major evidence from the JAMA, and it found that frequent participation in a spiritual or religious community was associated with 27% reduction in all-cause mortality and a 33% reduction in depression. So very meaningful. Let's go over to the metabolic side of things, of health. Diabetes, it's a growing threat in every region of the world. It might be the fastest growing health crisis on the planet right now. And it seems to be hitting men hard in a lot of regions. More than 500 million people were living with it as of a couple of years ago. So in 2021, more than 500 million people. And that number can more than double by 2050. The highest rates, they were found in North Africa, the Middle East, the Pacific Islands, South Asia, and the Caribbean. And here's something every brother in this room needs to hear. I mean, this applies to females as well. This is general human health biology here. But this is very important. The next step, the next point that I'm about to make here, that South Asians, Middle Eastern men, and Pacific Islanders, we develop diabetes at a lower body weight than what Western charts consider overweight. What I mean is a man could look completely normal sized and might already be at serious risk. So there's a famous study where they took people right on the edge of diabetes. They had them lose a small amount of weight, about 7%, and walk regularly. Their risk dropped by more than half. And here's the part that surprised even the researchers. The people who didn't lose any weight, but still hit their walking goal, their risk still dropped by almost half. So what that comes to show is the walking alone did most of the work. So if a doctor's ever told you your blood sugar is borderline, that's your window to turn it around. And a very important sign that if you're pre-diabetic, it is reversible after all. So far, so good. We're all here. Good thumbs up will do. Okay, all right, we're still here. Good. So some signs to kind of keep in mind. So these are some signs to kind of keep in our mind, could really help save you or someone's life someday, right? This is your checklist. It doesn't matter where you are in the world or where you live. These symptoms, they always mean go get checked. Never wait it out. So if these are the signs you ever notice, anybody explains to you or you yourself feel. So this is an alarm for you to go get checked out. For example, chest pain with trouble breathing, that could be your heart. Blood where it shouldn't be, that means something needs to get looked at. Losing weight without trying, so a significant amount of weight, it says about 10 pounds or 5 kg weight over a week. It's pretty alarming, very alarming, needs to get checked out. So that's never just good luck, but you got to get checked out. A lump, if it's formed, if you notice a lump being formed in the body that wasn't there before, perhaps trouble urinating that keeps happening, or if you're dealing with ongoing depression or any thoughts of hurting yourself, that's not something to sit on. That's an emergency. I know healthcare isn't always easy to access everywhere, but even then, knowing these signs and getting checked as early as you can, it can genuinely be the difference between life and death. One of the most researched subjects in healthcare and wellness, exercise. Exercise, after all, is a medicine. The evidence on exercise is about as solid as it gets. Anywhere in the world, any population, any region, any culture. Health authorities everywhere, they land on the same number. About 150 minutes a week of moderate movement. 150 minutes a week. You could divide that in any way possible. They're just looking at the cumulative output of your physical activity. So 150 minutes a week, which really just means 30 minutes of brisk walking 5 days a week, plus some kind of strength work twice a week. Strength work meaning just some muscle groups, major muscle groups, just doing them, lifting exercises for these muscles. YouTube is your friend. Instagram is your friend. All you have to write are basic strength exercises. You'll see millions of queries show up in the search result. So point is, you don't need a gym membership. Walking is free. Push-ups, squats, they can happen right in your room. Cycling, swimming, gardening, manual labor at work, it all counts as long as, once again, it gets your heart rate up. Sorry. Once again, as long as it gets your heart rate up, as long as it gets you to breathe heavy, and it's in that 150 minutes per week, you're in the right window. So researchers, they say for South Asian brothers, specifically doctors, have actually recommended things like walking, yoga, even Bollywood or Bhangra dancing, whatever floats your boat, right? Whatever gets you moving and actually makes you want to keep doing it. So the real goal is just move more, sit less. And as we get older, this matters even more. Losing muscle is one of the biggest threats to staying independent. Strength training isn't optional as you age. It's essential. So many ways, right? You could divide simply, as you see the simple weekly plan on the top right corner, 3 to 5 days of walking or other aerobic activity. Aerobic activity meaning any activity that gets you to kind of breathe heavier, that gets your heart rate pumping a little bit, that makes you break a sweat. Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter what it is. As long as you enjoy it, as long as you're able to consistently do it, that's all it needs to be. So 2 to 3 days of strength training, as you see, push-ups, squats, resistance bands, or weights, anything that gets your muscles pumping, right? Let's move on to the very notorious topic of diet and nutrition. Key is we know what to eat, what not to eat. We know what's bad for us. We really are aware. We know what's good for us. We know what's bad for us. The point I want to make and take away from this something practical to make a difference. Like none of us have ever visited a doctor and they've always given us advice on what to eat and what to avoid. So we know what's good and bad for us, right? But I wanted to make this time that we have together practical and useful so we could walk away with one thing. That one thing is timing of your food. So most of us only think about what we eat, but it turns out when you eat matters also. Your body runs on an internal clock, which affects your hormones, your digestion, your blood sugar, your sleep, all of it. It's called the circadian rhythm. It's like an internal clock affecting all those things. So in general, your body just handles food better earlier in the day. Late at night, things slow down. Your body's not as good at processing sugar or burning fat. There's actually a study where they had people eat the same exact dinner just at different times. 6 p.m. versus 10 p.m. So same food, same calories, exact same diet. The 10 p.m. group had higher blood sugar, slower fat burning, and worse sleep that night. Same meal, different outcome just because of timing. But I want to be very clear about something, right? Eating after sunset isn't the problem. A lot of us eat late because of work, family schedules, or even Ramadan. The real issue is eating a huge, heavy meal right before bed. Lots of fried food, sugar, refined carbs, and then lying straight down. That's also a recipe for heartburn. You must know that most doctors say leave 2 to 3 hours between eating and lying down. So speaking of Ramadan, during Ramadan, when people structure their eating well, even though they're eating after sunset, their metabolic health holds up fine. It's not about the clock on the wall. It's about what and how much close to sleep you eat. So here's the simple version, basically. What I'm trying to say is eat your bigger meals earlier when you can. If you have to eat late, keep it lighter and simpler. Eat earlier when you can, eat lighter when you can't. So that timing is a crucial point. When patients talk to me about diet and getting recommendations on nutrition, one thing I try to get them on is before even managing your micronutrients, your macros and all that, work on your timing. Eat consistently at the same time every day and try to move that time earlier and earlier, maybe 5 minutes at a time, perhaps. But just one practical advice about nutrition, because I thoroughly believe all of us know what's good for us, what's bad for us, right? But timing is something that is very rarely known from patients. So that's why I felt it was important to talk about that. Speaking of timing, let's go on to sleep. Sleep, you guys, as you may already know by age, that it isn't a luxury. It's biology, right? Adults need at least 7 hours. And when people consistently get less than 6, their risk of high blood pressure, obesity, diabetes, and heart disease goes up noticeably. On the other hand, sleep apnea is shockingly common in men. Up to a third of men between 30 and 70 have it, and most of them have no idea about it. So if you snore loudly, or if your partner notices you stop breathing at night, If you're waking up with a headache or dragging throughout your whole day, talk to your doctor. And moving on to testosterone, there's so much misinformation about out there right now, especially online. Doctors don't recommend just routinely testing it for no reason. But if you're dealing with ongoing fatigue, low libido, and such issues, those are legitimate reasons to bring it up with a real doctor. Don't diagnose yourself off a YouTube video, you guys, and don't treat yourself either. We move on to this section, you guys. Your body is a trust. This isn't tied to a specific religion or any specific group. It's something almost every tradition agrees on. Across nearly every faith, the body is seen as something sacred, something we've been entrusted with. In Islam, it's amana. In Christianity, the body is a temple. In Hindu and Buddhist tradition, it's the vehicle for your spiritual growth. And there's real research behind it too. People who regularly show up for their spiritual or faith community tend to live longer and deal with meaningfully less depression. The values a lot of us already grew up with: discipline, gratitude, moderation, service to others. Those same values are exactly what leads to better health. Taking care of yourself, it isn't selfish. It's actually what makes you able to take care of everyone who depends on you. I wanted to include this table here as well. It's kind of like your cheat sheet. This is what you would bring to your doctor and when. So this is pulled from major health guidelines. But I'll say it again. What's standard in the US or the UK might look different in Pakistan, Nigeria, or Egypt, or anywhere else in the world. But the one thing that's true everywhere is this: don't wait until you feel something, right? Blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, colorectal cancer, prostate issues. Almost all of these can be caught early through a simple screening, often years before you'd ever feel a symptom. So on the prostate row specifically that you see on this table there, different guidelines, they give different starting ages, some as nearly as mid 40s if you're high risk, or some say 55. So don't treat that number as fixed. Point is that this is just ask your doctor what makes sense for you. Take a picture of this slide perhaps and bring it to your next appointment. You know, if you don't have a regular doctor right now, let this be a sign to go find one. Let's move on to practical implications of our talk here, this discussion here. An action plan, perhaps. Now, I'm not asking you, or nobody's asking anybody, to change your whole life starting tomorrow. Just take the next responsible step instead. For example, this week, keep it small. Perhaps check your blood pressure. Go for a walk. Swap one sugary drink for water and one piece of fruit or one vegetable to your day. And maybe most important of all, actually talk to someone you trust about how you're really doing. And then this month, go a little further. Perhaps book a checkup. Find out your actual numbers for blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, weight, waist size. Start lifting something twice a week. Start that strength training program. Fix up your sleep a bit. Ask your doctor which screenings make sense for you. And then this year, let health become part of who you are. Get the screenings done. Build a routine you can actually stick with. Clean up your diet gradually. Get support if you're struggling, and go find another man, your brother, your father, your son, your friend, and push him to take this seriously too. Because here's what I want you to walk away with. prevention isn't fear. Prevention is power. Getting screened isn't weakness, it's strength. And asking for help isn't failure, it's courage. So, as we wrap up, I want to leave you with one idea. This isn't just about living longer, it's about living better, showing up stronger, and actually being present for the people who need you. So may we all walk out of here today with the intention to take care of the body, mind, and spirit we've been entrusted with, not just for ourselves, but for our families, our communities, and whatever purpose we're here to serve. Thank you very much, everyone. And just a quick note before we end, all the sources are listed on the slide for anyone who wants to dig deeper, perhaps. Everything I shared tonight, it comes from real research and major health organizations, not just opinions. Thank you very much, you guys.
As we come to the end of today's discussion, I would like to sincerely thank each and every one of you for taking the time to be here and for investing in a conversation that's both timely and deeply important. Men's health is often discussed only when problems arise, but today's workshop reminded us that true wellness is not simply the absence of illness. It's about the ongoing process of caring for our physical health, our mental well-being, and our emotional resilience, and the relationships that sustain us. A key takeaway from Dr. Hamail's discussion today is that the choices we make today have a profound impact on the quality of our lives tomorrow. So a special thank you to Dr. Hamail Arshad for sharing his knowledge, experience, and practical insights with us. We appreciate your commitment to empowering individuals to take an active role in their own health journey. On behalf of the Azeemi Global Foundation, thank you all once again for being part of our discussion. We are grateful for your presence, your engagement, and your support. We look forward to continuing these conversations and creating more opportunities that encourage education, awareness, and holistic well-being for our communities. Thank you, and we wish everyone a wonderful rest of the day.